Hello and welcome to Fix My City on a Cycle Online. My name is Lesley Moyo. The program focuses on service delivery issues in Matabeleland region. In this week's program, we speak to the Bulawayo Deputy Mayor, who's also the Ward 1 Councillor, that is Councillor Mlandu Ncube, speaking on the Bulawayo public transport policy. Welcome to the program, Councillor Ncube.
Thank you very much. How are you?
All right, as we start our program, in 2012, the city of Bulawayo crafted the Bulawayo public transport policy, which sought to deal with the chaos in the public transport sector. And one of the goals was to merge combi operators into one mass public transport entity, which will be supervised by the local authority. How far has the city gone in terms of implementing this policy?
Thank you very much. This is a very good discussion that we are taking today, which I think it is very important that the residents understand and they must know as stakeholders. It is the responsibility of the local authority to make sure that people are transported to go and do their daily errands within its jurisdiction. This is why you find that long back local authorities used to run the transport company, which later transformed to be Zupco. But in other cities, if you go to Joburg, you still have the metro buses. Those are mainly administered by local authorities. And also, as a city, it is our responsibility. But as a city also, you need to, when you come with policies, you need to consider what type of economy, what type of a country are you in. You can't have policies that take place in the United States and try and implement them here because of the lifestyle, economy, and infrastructure. It is against a council spirit that we want to remove people from doing business. Zimbabwe is a middle-class economic country, which we should give everyone an opportunity to do business and earn a living. After we discovered that almost everyone wants to start life or buy a commuter or minibus, which is a combi, and start register it and pirate. So we then said we need to put these things into order. We need to create order within the city, whereby we then said, because there were cries that our residents were saying they are not properly taken care of by those transport operators because they report to no one. No one is supervising, and you will find that you get to 6th Avenue, there are about 20 combis. One is saying the address is Luveve, the address is in Kulumani. So monitoring and customer care and compliance with just national laws, it was very difficult. So then the city came up with a plan to regroup this so that they form associations, copying from the association that was already existing, which the residents were commenting about it, which was Chovambaiwa. So we then we called our stakeholders, transport operators, to come and form these associations. Because we're crafting the policy that would demand them that they form associations. Because as a city, we must protect the business, we must protect the consumers. So this policy was put in place to try and protect both of them. That policy brought in Chovambaiwa and Bupta. But then we had some transport operators, mainly those who operated the route of Nketa and some parts of Nkulumani, who were not comfortable with joining Chovambaiwa or Bupta. They then opted of forming Bulawayo City Transit. That's how that third operator came in. As it is not our responsibility to tell them how many associations they can form, we registered them, 3 of them, as our 3 operators. But within that, we then had a challenge with the people who reside in the eastern suburbs, of the city, who were saying, you know, it's not fair for you to force us to get into a combi. Because by then they were saying it's not feasible to get a combi from here to Hillside. Because it will only have about 4 or 5 people. So they were making, combi operators were making a loss. And also it was conveniencing the customers, because they were saying, for me to get into a combi and wait to fill up. So then we had a request from these small associations. We've got small unmetered taxi associations that since wrote to us, requesting to be included into our transport policy system. When we were at that level, we started to have problems. Because each policymaker, councillors will come in with a view from his ward and then what. Then we embarked on a citywide consultation on that, which we then gathered data that residents welcomed the transport policy, welcomed the formation of these associations, and also they said the transport policy should be open for everyone who wants to be in a transport business, but provided the person joins an association. Because when the management is under one association, it becomes easier to communicate, easier to make a follow-up when, let's say, illegal pickup points, when people are being abused in those taxis. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
And also, in turn, that's the time when we're forming those associations. These combi operators started to do partnership with the residents, local leaders, whereby they were providing free combis during funerals. To us, it really, the grouping of these people brought benefits to the community. So which was a good thing. To me, I think it was good. And it was going to decongest the city. Because the transport policy was very clear, designating pickup points, such as Ware Valley, such as even Nicotine when it will, but it was closed. But in the long term, it was going to be used, such as 3rd Avenue terminus. It was saying people will be picked in there. Now we'll be having this designated point, and everyone will be a member of the association, which is run through a transport policy. So it was going to help us. We will not have these unscrupulous pickup points. That meant if 3rd Avenue terminus, because we're going to have Bupta applying Luveve Road, meaning to say the terminus where Luveve Road is being picked from is managed by Bupta. Meaning to say Bupta is in charge of Amatau Zakon, is in charge of Owen Dibakon, is in charge of O-Driver, is in charge of infrastructure, maintenance of the upkeep of the infrastructure, I mean to say looking after the infrastructure. But well, the council would have put up the infrastructure. So it meant it was going to be easier to monitor. We're not going to have Amatauts all over. But let me tell you, eradicating Amatauts is not good, because they are making a living from that thing, those boys. So if you remove them without any option of employment, you are saying, which is what the council does not want. So that is what council was trying to address. But our main goal on that was that every world is moving towards mass transportation of people. When these combis are in an association or a company, it gives them, because the more you are combined, and if you are orderly, you are running your business orderly, it makes you grow. We expected that this will develop them, for them to go up and start buying larger, bigger buses, so that it becomes, they fall into a category of mass transportation. So that is our main goal.
And looking at the success of that policy, would you say so far it has been successful, or there are still some challenges that you're facing in terms of fully implementing the public transport policy?
The first challenge is that we still have got a lot of combi operators who don't want even to join those associations. So it becomes very difficult for us to implement. For instance, I can tell you that before this COVID thing, all the combis that you saw picking up people at corner 6th Avenue and Herbert Temple, even at Cell's house, were not members of any association. So it was difficult to monitor. It was very difficult to police. But those that were properly registered, even if you rewind back, you'll go to between 6th Avenue and Lopengula, where we created those bales. You'll find Bupta and Mbaiwa there. You go to 6th Avenue, and also if you go down there across Masocha, you'll get Bupta combis parked there, because those were created as holding bays. Those that were in the associations were complying. Even if you go to Cllr, not Cllr. What do you call behind Lopez there, you used to see where Mbaiwa was starting to construct their offices, even putting up a filling station. That's why you remember waiting to be called to come and pick. Those were the results of transport policy. But we still had those rock elements. The crisis that if you have got rock elements and properly constituted business, the properly constituted business end up losing, and this rock element making profit. Then the one that is trying to follow law ends up following, let me go ngihambe khona lokho enziwa khona imali ngathi mina ngifela. That is the crisis we faced.
If you're just joining us, this is Fix My City on Asake Online. My name is Lesley Moyo. My guest in this week's program is Bulawayo Deputy Mayor and Councillor for Ward 1, Mlandu Ncube. We are speaking on the Bulawayo public transport policy. And for now, we're taking a short break. Join us again in the next few minutes. We now come to the Egodini project, which we touched on earlier on. The project has taken over 8 years to be implemented. What is delaying the completion of this project, considering that the relocation of combis from the terminals has congested the central business district?
Well.
It's a good morning to you. Welcome to Asake Online. My name is Zenzele Ndebele and this is the Breakfast Club.
Hayi chance anzange ngithole because mina ngifike esibhedlela abafika bangalasa mangithreatena lo ngindodo yabuya lesithi sebenza icase yami wamforce wantshela ukuthi mina mangingavumanga uqala ukuthi ngime ngayenza konke ukubulala amawenzi landlana ngizophiwa injection so many injections engakwazi injection.
This guy is crazy.
Urikuthamba nini
Yakela mntanami, yakela. Usekutani bekudala. Le ichekama le. Zolo lokhu mfana ubuye nomunye unajoy into engaka.
I would love to hear what is your thought of consent? What do you understand?
Consent is when I can actually say, yes, I can agree that we can do this together. That is what consent is, and that is what it means.
Hello and welcome to Asake Online. My name is Lesley Moyo and the name of the program is Fix My City.
And today sikhuluma ngoba sikhangela iphayili yeziko lesibona izodantshwa lapha phezulu and we are worried as residents apha nalapha eLuvuvu ukuthi kade kuhamba njani ku city council.
Kanti wangathatha into ozikwanisayo kanti.
Very sad to see that citizens had to take matters into their own hands in this way to try and obtain some relief for their starvation, because everything is being heaped on them. The 2% tax heaped on them, the price of fuel rise heaped on them with extra combi costs.
Welcome back to Fix My City. My name is Lesley Moyo and this is Asake Online. My guest this week is Bulawayo Deputy Mayor and Ward 1 Councillor Mlandu Ncube. We're speaking on the Bulawayo public transport policy. The policy also sought to decongest the central business district through a mass public transport system and also banning tolls, pirate taxis. But we see that this is still happening. Where is the city getting it wrong?
Our council police are not well constituted. One, they are short-staffed. As I have said, that we find that the whole city is being monitored by less than 5 people. The whole city. Meaning to say the CPD, including the western areas. Let's say there is a need for us to mount a roadblock. We'll be demanding those 5 people. And second, the resources. You know, when you want to really engage into serious traffic policing, you need clamping vehicles. You know, those are things. But we are short far from there. And above all, it's a matter of arresting powers. When we've got arresting powers so that we can have our own charge sheet and fine sheet. You know, when police arrest you and say you must pay a fine, it doesn't come from the member of the officer in charge's head. There is a charter. There is a charter that says such crime must pay this. And you can't just wake up and draft it. It needs to be drafted by I think it was the Attorney General's office. That can only be given to some people who have got arresting powers. So we hope, since they are talking of setting up a metropolitan council, the metro powers can be vested into our municipal police to monitor those. So without those, it becomes very difficult for us to monitor the chaos that is within the CPD.
But is banning combis the solution, considering that you know, we are experiencing a crisis in terms of public transport in the city?
First of all, when we started, I made it very clear that when you make such policies, you should look into countries or the economy that you are in. In other countries, people run tax business. People run tax business are people with huge monies who just let me do ntengi kombi itwala bantu. But in our country, people run that as serious business. So for a council or government to wake up and say we are sending people out of business, it is not fair. It is not fair. Council and government should create an environment of doing business. They must not do. We can, let's say, we then have our subsidized transport system. Say the local authority is running Bulawayo Metro buses, which are subsidized by council, but also allow private players to come in, so that a public player is monitored by private sector, so that we put our standards up. What I believe is that where we came from and where we are now, it's different. People should go back and rethink when they started. Remember, we used to cut the AMA 404.
Yes.
And there was evolution from 404 to combis. We never wake up in the morning and said, "Chama wind driver AMA 404." It was gradually transformation. And I think we should also, since we are talking about mass movement of people, we should afford these current operators that let's gradually transform to conventional buses. Understand? Let's say, for instance, I'll just give an example. Let's say from today, we'll be not registering any combi into business. If you want to come to transport business, please buy conventional buses. But those who already have got combis, may you work towards converting your combis to what? To larger transporters. It makes, you are not affecting someone's livelihood. Rather than saying, Hambe Pagankai. What are you saying about the owner? What are you saying about the driver? What are you saying about the the beneficiaries in that thing. So I think there should be a smart transition on that.
But the government has used the COVID-19 pandemic to ban combis, preferring the Zupco franchise, which is servicing urban routes. What is your take on this, and is this in line with the city's public transport policy?
Actually, it is not the responsibility of government to manage the movement of people. But well, you know, we work hand in hand. When the combis were sent out, we were told that it's because of the government wants to manage the issue of COVID prevention protocols, which talks about the number of, we remember combis were now carrying about 7-8 people. The buses were carrying 15 to 20 people. There was social distancing, there was sanitization. That, and also the government was working on trying to stop, trying that people adhere to the curfew, because by 6 o'clock there was no Zupco by that time, so there will be no movement of people. But alas, now the combi, Zupco combi is carrying full capacity. Maybe it can be extra by one conductor, because the conductor is so meaning to say that the combi, the private combi, it will be having extra by one compared to a Zupco combi. So it now looks like the same thing, because both of them carry full capacity. I think it's only that I haven't used a combi for a long time. I don't know whether they still sanitize at a Zupco. I don't know whether at private combis the people are sanitized, but I'm saying it now looks like the same thing if we want to create order. Even if you check some of the combis that are written in Zupco, they are behaving exactly like these private ones. They just turn anyway, do anything anyway, just throw garbage outside anyway. So it's the same thing. So what we should work on as a government, as a council and government, is not remove combis. It's how to assist our people to make life, how to assist our people to adhere to COVID protocols, how to assist these, because combis are small and medium enterprises. If you are giving opportunity to the person who is selling tomatoes to grow his business, why are you not giving it to the same person? So I'm saying, I'm not saying people should defy what the directive said, because normally when there is a national disaster, which we say COVID is a national disaster, there are instruments that give government powers. And also, you know, most of the time that when there is national disaster, in some scenarios, some rights are fortified. So I'm saying maybe government saw it fit that other rights are trembled, they're ignored for a while. But I'm saying, let's put our heads together, assist these small SMEs to grow to conventional buses. And also, after all, our constitution gives people rights to associate. You can decide to associate with Zupco, associate with Bupta, associate with Mbayo. But also in their freedom, while these people practice their freedom, they should know that there is law in place. There is order that is needed to take place.
We now come to the Egodini project, which we touched on earlier on. The project has taken over 8 years to be implemented. What is delaying the completion of this project, considering that the relocation of combis from the terminals has congested the central business district?
Well, it has been a question that has been being asked for a long time, and they've been answering, and will continue to answer it. Firstly, there was a delay because remember, council owned that land and some buildings around that mall that got in, and there were some buildings that did not belong to council. So, and also council had leases. There were people who were leasing those buildings. So we also took, I think it was a year and a half. So I will only speak from 2013 coming forward, when I was involved. There was a time where we needed to move people from there, like we had Red Cross there, we had youth whatever there. So we were still trying to look for places to compensate compensate those that owned buildings, and also to compensate those that had leases that were running with us. So we also took time also. We also take blame for that short period that we delayed as council also. But well, when I get it is that the contractor was supposed, because we have put timelines, was supposed to move into the country early last year. But then when we get the reports, you know, when the thing is at that stage, as policymakers, we deal with the reports. We can't be doing it day to day. The last report we got was the contractor was affected by the issue of closure of borders, and even our council staff confirmed that no, they've done all checks to make sure that the guy moves on site. But we are also worried as councillors that that thing is now a white elephant, looks like a white elephant. And we'll assure you that since last year, I think July, we then mandated our projects committee to monitor the move at Ekotini seriously. If we have seen that, no, we now need to take a serious decision, we will. And what people should understand is that it's not that I'm saying we have not taken it seriously. You know, when you get into contract with someone, whether the person is genuine or not genuine, but if we have sat down as a evaluation committee and awarded a tender to somebody, there are legal things that you engage in. So it's not easy to terminate a contract. As it is not easy now that you have got a girlfriend that you have been in a relationship for 3 months to say, it's not easy. So please, residents, we might make a wrong decision that will end up costing the city more than what we expect to gain from that project. We are not sitting, but you know, some of the actions that you take against the contractor, you cannot be always on media and say, we've done this, we've done this. So it's not that we are sleeping, but me especially, it affects me directly because I'm the council of the area. My residents in 6-7 at Moza House, where people are now loading, they are always complaining. The business community along Lopengula Street is complaining. Everyone is complaining about that closure thing because it affects them. And also the SMEs have been affected. So we really care about that. We are taking steps, but carefully. We need to make steps. We need to make careful decisions when dealing with such things.
But there are some people who are pushing for the tender to be cancelled. What do you say about that?
Do you know, when someone is angry, can say anything. And this is why stakeholders are there in the society to raise such concerns with us. And as I've said, you can't go around and say we've cancelled the tender. Tender is a legal thing. There are legal steps that must be taken to cancel that thing. So I cannot say council is going to cancel. When the contractor has failed, definitely we are going to cancel. But if he has not failed, if he has not proven to us that he has not failed, he has failed, we can't go around saying we're going to cancel the tender. Because last time I checked, he has done the soil test. You know, when you do such projects, you must do the soil test and whatever. Last I checked, he had done it. So, and also cancelling such a tender, residents should know. Let's say if council has decided to take that route, residents are going to pay for that. Because there are some compensations that need to take place. And the mayor does not have money from, he will not take money from his pocket, neither the town clerk. The money to compensate, the money to pay legal fees will come from the residents, will come from the ratepayers' money. So when we make such decisions, residents, we should first be sober and discuss and tell each other the truth of taking such decisions.
As we round up our discussion, let's focus on the state of the city's roads, which are in a deplorable state. And some public transporters have actually withdrawn their vehicles from servicing certain routes. What is the City Council doing to attend to the problem?
First of all, I can tell you that for the past 2 months, Council has made sure that the roads, that public roads, that takes you to Pumla Old, that takes you to Mkanwini, that takes you to Cllr park, properly planned Cllr park, not this newly, the one that the Karakai and Tlaranigutle things are usable. You can confirm with me, you have seen we've been patching. Go to flyover, both flyover in Luveve Road, flyover in Cameron. We have tried our best, but I know with the resources that we have at the moment, we cannot do roads up to your doorsteps. But I have been saying this to people, that do you know if there is misuse of funds that has been happening, it has been happening in all urban local authorities in Zimbabwe. Because in an urban setup, every service that you receive as a resident should be paid for. Council should receive money. We give you water because we charge you water levy. We do your sewer because you pay for your sewer. We do your refuse because you pay for that. But councils are not collecting anything from road users. That should be known. All these vehicles that are using these roads that people are talking about, they are not paying to council. They are paying to central government. Which we are saying, then councils are left with no option but to borrow money from other services, roads, from water account, social service account, sewer account, water account, to try and maintain roads.
So in other words, you're saying central government through Zinara is not giving you
Yes. They give us what they want when they want. And for the past 5 years, they've been developing a mentality that they will give you towards trade fair and say, this is trade fair grant, do airport road and this and that. You understand? Mm-hmm. So, to me, it's unfortunate, I know residents will not understand. To me, councils all over the country are doing their best they can in repairing roads because they are actually borrowing money from other accounts, not from the roads account. Because if you look long back, people used to pay road fees at council. And it was easy to take there and put it there. So the crisis that we are facing is that we are repairing roads. What we are doing, we are repairing roads using borrowed monies borrowed from other votes. So your roads, you are using roads, let me say to residents, you are using roads that you are not paying for to your local authority.
Thank you so much, Councillor Ncube, for affording us this time to speak to you on the Bulawayo public transport policy. Hopefully, we'll have more time to speak on other service delivery issues affecting the city of Bulawayo.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.
A bit for yourself from Councillor Ncube, who is the Ward 1 Councillor, as well as the Bulawayo's Deputy Mayor. Speaking on the Bulawayo public transport policy, he's touched on some of the challenges that the local authority is facing in terms of fully implementing the public transport policy, as well as he spoke at length about the challenges with the Egodini project, which has taken over 8 years to be implemented, and residents rightfully so have been raising concern that the project, which was meant to improve the city's transport system, has taken long to come to fruition. Join me again in the next edition of Fix My City. My name is Lesley Moyo. Let's meet again next week.